first-time home buyers because it is the gateway to wealth. So I'm really enjoying this journey. Shout out to Constance Carter, who was very inspirational in this process, and I'm ready for the ride.
All right, all right. Well, we're ready to ride with you. And so ride or die, let's go get it. All right. So the other person that I love that I would ride with is Mr. Daniel Jennings. Now, Daniel, I remember your company was called Cool and Hip Tiny Homes, but it seemed like you might maybe had a rebrand. Daniel's really interesting because I know Daniel actually builds and transports houses all across the country, which is a really intriguing business. Daniel, how you doing, man? I think you're muted, brother. I don't know. Did you hear me, Daniel? Oh, well, while Daniel unmutes, and I'll try to figure out what I can do on this end to help with that. I'm gonna bring in last but certainly not least, but you all have seen her here a bunch of times, so I had to save her for last. The one and only, the
Oh, Daniel's
extraordinary.
ready. Daniel's
Oh,
ready.
Daniel's ready. Okay,
Ready,
all right.
ready now.
Daniel, so all right. So how you doing, man?
Sorry. Doing fine this morning. How everybody doing this morning?
Doing quite well, quite well. Now you were Cool and Hip Tiny Homes. Did you change the name of the company to?
Uh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I did. Actually, I'm a licensed builder here in Mississippi. We actually manufacture these tiny homes. We specialize in building these homes, developments for women and children of domestic violence. So I just kind of like let God lead the way. We use these tiny homes to actually put a town back together that was destroyed by a EF4 tornado about 2 years ago. So I just let God lead the way. I've learned to just actually align myself with what God's will is. And so we specialize in building these homes. Now, we because of your help, Dr. Boyce, and being the B1 community, we've actually helped our first family provide housing for a young family. So I want to
Right,
thank you.
awesome. Yeah, awesome, awesome. Yeah, we definitely talk about that. That's the Black Business School. We were happy to partner and support that. As you guys know, we like to support things that are happening in our community with our people. For example, we've given money to a lot of schools, but we only give money to schools that are run by Black people. Not because we hate anybody else, but these big universities, they can get money somewhere else. We'd rather help our people because I don't see anybody really doing that. So when I saw what Daniel was doing, he's helping victims of domestic violence have some hope and have a place to go, when they're leaving their situations. And I think that that's an important cause. And also another person you guys met this week, Angela Stanton King. She runs Auntie Angie's House, where she works with those mothers who were thinking about terminating their pregnancies but chose not to. And she gives them a chance to get on their feet, right? And so those are some causes that we support, and we're very happy to be a part of that. So all right. So last but not least, the revolutionary, the one and only Miss Constance Carter. How you doing today, Constance?
What's up, Dr. B? I am happy to be here. I was pleasantly surprised when I seen that we had a whole panel of folks. So this is awesome. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know that you're on the Fly Nubian Money Channel every
Yeah,
day, and I know that you do work a lot of work with us in the Black Business School. And I
yeah.
don't know how many conventions you've come to. How many have you
A
been
lot
to?
of them. Listen. I'm the B1 Black Business School biggest fan. So anywhere I can get in, where I can fit in, I'm there. So yeah, at all of them. At least since 20, I don't know, 2017, maybe 2016, 2017,
Wow.
maybe. Yeah,
That's so yeah, every year, and she would step in and help, and
yeah.
and I
I'm the
appreciate it.
spades master. I gotta put it on Dr. B. All the things. I gotta do all the put. I gotta.
Well, you were you well what she's referring to is like one year somehow we in all the planning, like conventions take a lot of work to plan, like a lot of work and a lot of money. It's really hard to do, but somebody somehow we forgot to have somebody run the space tournament. And so everybody came in ready to play in the space tournament, and I was actually gonna play in it because I'm ready to whoop some ass too. But there was nobody running the tournament. And so Constance grabbed the microphone and just started
Yeah,
running it. Like
I
she
had to
just took
do it.
over. And I
But
said,
wait
that's
though.
what I'm talking about.
Then the
What
next
you say?
year, then the next year, I played against you and Dr. Alicia, and the brother that was playing with me reneged, and I'll never forgive him ever. I'm still
Yeah.
mad about that. That's the only reason why you won, Dr. Boyce, is because that brother reneged on us.
Yeah, we gotta ban him. He can't come back. We gotta. deport him for the B1.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
I
he's
was like,
deported.
right. Anyway, let me stop. Let me stop. No, he's not deported. We just he's got to be rehabbed though. That's what you got to be
Some.
re-educated. Exactly. Can't be
Something.
reneging on spades. Okay, so let's get to it. So I'm gonna circle to Don for this first question. I'm gonna read something to you, Don, that I just
Okay.
read in terms of what is really going on with Black real estate investors in general. And it turns out, and I was just looking up some research on this, a lot of Black investors are shifting away from first-time home ownership to small multifamily homes and duplexes. And they're using something called house hacking to be able to build income while living in the property. Have you seen a lot of that happening? And what is your thought? When I say house hacking, what comes to mind for you?
I think what comes to mind for me is that's the way to do it. That's the way to start. That's actually what I recommend to people to, instead of just buying a single family home to begin with, buy a duplex or a triplex or a quad, which is 4 units, because the bank looks at it the same way. The qualifications are the same for a first time home buyer. They'll approve a 4 unit just the same way they'll approve a 1 unit. And why not live in that and live in the home itself, allow your second unit to cover the mortgage, the third and fourth be profit that ends up in your pocket. It's a great way to begin building wealth. And obviously the equity builds faster in a 4 unit typically than it would in a single family residence. So I think it's definitely the way to go. And it's always what I recommend to people I work with.
Okay. So yeah, the house hacking thing, I think, and Dr. Trump, for yourself, I mean, that can almost seem like a little intimidating though. Like it's your first property, and somebody's like, no, don't buy a house. Get like fourplex, and like the math works out. But so if you're trying to get started on that and you've never done this before, you never even bought a home before, like where would you tell someone to start if they were looking to try to do something like that?
Well, definitely, I came from living in Chicago for almost a decade, and that's a big thing. There's so many people who are in buildings because in order to afford a home, you got to be, as far as a freestanding home, you may have to go out to the suburbs. So a multi-unit is the way to go. And always, as a realtor, we look at getting pre-approved. So getting your finances in order, getting your credit in order, and going to see what you can afford so that you can go shopping. Is always,
Okay,
instead of
okay.
going to look at properties first, people get excited. Buying a home is an emotional decision, and you want to look in the neighborhood and you want to see the bathrooms and bedrooms and the paint job and all that. But get pre-qualified first and then go shopping. And the cool thing about buying multifamily is that the potential rental income can be factored into getting you a higher pre-approval than if you were in a single one family or one owner home. You'd be able to qualify for more because they're going to look at how much extra equity are those rental units are those able to be brought in, and that counts as income for pre-qualification purposes.
Interesting. Okay, so Daniel, I met you at I think it might have been the Power Networking Conference with Dr. George Fraser. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. In Atlanta. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you had a booth set up, and you I was really impressed, that you had driven up there. And did you have your son? Is that right? Am I making that up?
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, and you had driven up there. I'm going to shift the direction just slightly and ask you, now how old are you, by the way?
I'm actually 49.
49.
49.
Wow, okay. That's crazy because I thought he was going to say 34. I
I know
swear.
he looks young. I'm like, what?
Right, I really thought he was going to say 34, but okay, 49. All right. So
Mhm.
so what made you drive up there? And because I know the booths are not free, and you set up shop, and I want us to talk through this so everybody listening can that's thinking about trying to make their own move in business can sort of see your thought process. What was the goal there? What led you to just go there and set up the booth and all that stuff? And how did that go? Was that experience for you?
Well, I had to get this concept out to the world. Damon John chose my concept back in 2022 for the Black Entrepreneurs Day event that they have annually. And so once he chose my concept and gave me a grant and everything to actually further this concept, a tornado hit the town of Rolling Fork, Mississippi. I took that same concept with the tiny homes and actually expanded the size of the homes, and we actually built 18 homes. So during that process, I had a friend who lives in Atlanta. She said, "Dan, you need to be in this Atlanta event." And so when I went there, we set up a booth, and I actually seen that I seen some pictures that I already took that like maybe that night before. I said, "Dr. Boyce is here." I said, "I'd like to meet him." So actually, when you came around the corner, that was my opportunity to actually, and I was like, man, I get a chance to meet one of my, heroes. I've been watching for years and everything. So it paid off.
Wow. Well, I'm honored by that, by the way. Thank you for saying that.
Definitely.
I think that the reason I asked you about that is because, I kind of want everybody to just understand that you can't fall into the mindset that says if I build it, they will come, right? Sometimes you get lucky, but sometimes sometimes you got to make a move, right, in order to make something happen. And so that was I was really impressed by that. And you and I talked for a really long time, and now, we communicate regularly, because I'm so impressed with what you're doing. I'm gonna circle back on that. But I want to go to, speaking of just playmakers and making moves. Constance is one of the biggest move makers I've ever seen. Nobody works harder than Constance Carter. That's her slogan, but I'm gonna start using it too because I've seen it in real life. And so what would you say about that, Constance, in terms of making a move toward your goal or your dream or your business or your whatever it is you're trying to do? What's your mentality when it comes to that kind of thing?
So when it comes to just doing it, it's just doing it, Dr. B. It's just doing it and not getting stuck in analysis paralysis. And I think that's what
Mm,
a lot of times people do. So what people don't understand about me is I'm not the big ideation person. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I don't got a post-secondary education. I got a PhD, a public high school diploma. However, I execute. So if there are so many people with these great ideas, I just listen. I just listen and I do it. And I think that's the difference between me and a lot of people is that a lot of people just get stuck in analysis paralysis. They get stuck at start. They don't want to do it. But if you really have a goal in mind and you really want to do something, it's nothing. It's ain't nothing to it but to do it. That's it.
mm,
And if it's not perfect, that's fine. If you go back to my social media, I got a lot of shit on there. Some of it's corny, some of it's stupid. I'll look back at that. I'll be like, this was so stupid. I'll come up with an idea. First thing I do is buy a domain in the middle of the night. By the time I wake up in the morning, I'll be like, that was dumb as shit. Like, but I just do. Like, I just do. I'm always on the move. My brain is always going, and I'm just, okay, this don't work. This might work. This don't work. So I just say, just get out of analysis paralysis, y'all. And if you have an idea, get help. Get somebody to coach you. Align yourself with some people who are doing it. I align myself with people like Dr. Boyce. Daniel said he was at the Power Networking Conference. Dr. Frazier is one of my mentors. So I just align myself with doers, and then I just do. So I think that's just
mm.
the secret to it is just doing.
Well, and I think that's really that's profound. I mean, a lot of times, and the thing is, it's not like just doing it out of motivation, right? All of us can get the Holy Spirit and get pumped up and ready to go, and that might work a little bit, but eventually that wears off. And what carries you is not motivation. What carries you is discipline. And if anybody wants like a little secret, and this is important, right? A lot of people think that just the technical know-how is what matters most in business. No, I think resilience literally is the most important factor in business success, period. You got to the best thing I ever figured out was I learned how to fall in love with the process, not with the result, right? Like a lot of us have a dream, and I love my dreams. I mean, my dream. Don't tell my wife, but I was already married when I married her. I had my dream, and that was my baby, and we slept together every night. So I love my dream, but then I said, wait, I can't just love the dream. I got to love the process because you spend more time with the process than you spend with the result. The result might be 10 years away, right? Right? But the process is going to be up there in your face every morning, like, what we doing today? What we doing, right? And so if you can't fall in love with the process, then you're going to spend all these years miserable, suffering for the sake of this dream that may or may not even have. You may not even get the dream. That's the crazy part, right? I had to process this a lot and think about this. So it's like, no, no, no. I know what I want to do. I want to fall in love with my process. So when I got up this morning at 4:30 a.m. and went out to the gym and shoveled snow and all that stuff. It was like I was like, I love this. I love you. Like this is what's gonna make me whatever the kind of man I want to be, right? And so I say that. So Don, I'm gonna pass it to you. So we talked about like taking action, whatever the method might be to become successful. But there's also kind of a part of taking action though. Like you look at Silicon Valley, they say things like move fast and break things. I don't know if anybody heard them say that, right? Move fast and break things. Sometimes that's not the right approach either, right? Sometimes a more calculated approach matters. And I'm bringing this to you because I know you're the COO of a company as well as a CEO, which means that it's not just a matter of always moving. It could be a matter of like also being deliberate and spend a little bit of time with that analysis, right? Not being paralyzed by it, but really sort of thinking it through before you make a move. How do you strike that balance in your life?
The planning. And I think we've all heard the phrase, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail.
Mm.
So I do think that you have to take concerted effort to make move, take action. But I think planning is so critical in that to every day. I use a planner called Clever Fox, and it breaks down just different things that I think it's a Black owned company too. Clever Fox, they have a terrific planner that you can buy on Amazon or any other platform. And it's terrific with helping you break down like your day and make sure that you check everything off your list and that you have quarterly goals and biannual goals, annual goals, and things like that, and that you're staying on track to meet those goals. So I think that's part of it too. But like Constance said, also actually take action. Even if you're afraid, do it afraid. Get out there and even if you fall, if you stumble, pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, keep going and try again. And you may not land, like you said, Dr. Boyce, you may not land where you were trying to go, but you might find something else great in the process and be like, you know what? This isn't what I planned to do, but this is excellent. I can make a lot of money doing this, or I really enjoy doing this. And it might be a combination of both. So I think just have the step outside of your comfort zone because generally everything that you're actually looking for, it's not in your comfort zone. It's outside of that. So be bold, be courageous, step outside, take action and plan. That's my
Wow.
thought on that.
I really like that a lot, and I think that's yeah, Dr. Charm. I think one thing I noticed that sometimes that stifles us is we feel like we have to have it all right and perfect before we make a move. Like there's something about making mistakes, particularly if it's in public or in front of other people, that can become stifling and embarrassing and almost to the point where it defines us. Like we say, gosh, I am out here messing up and looking stupid, right? And it's hard to do that, right? And I think it seems to me that a lot of success in taking action sort of is pre-committing to the fact that you're gonna make those mistakes and then processing it in a different way so it doesn't end up causing you to say, well, gosh, I am a mistake. No, you're not a mistake. You're just learning, right? How do you shift, like how important is mindset in terms of being able to just overcome that, just the amount of failure that is required to reach that first success?
Yeah, I think that imposter syndrome is a real big thing, especially for professionals. As a professional Black woman here, I've definitely been a victim of that, of just the imposter syndrome for folks who don't know, is just feeling like you're not enough or feeling like you don't have the qualifications, even though you do. And I just remember, I am a realtor, but I'm also a physician. And I remember my first week out as a pediatrician seeing patients, and I was just like, oh my God, I don't know what's, I got a great medical school education, but I'm like, what is going on? Like, what do I need to do? And I just remember the biggest takeaway I had from that is that I had to make a decision. So really at the end of the day, pulling that trigger, making a decision is really key, and that's the first step.
Mm. Well, yeah, I find, yeah, I mean, when you're talking about making a move, it's the imposter syndrome is real. I'll confess, I've had imposter syndrome a lot. Sometimes I still do. If I try something new, it's like, wait, why would I try to do something new that I'm bad at when I'm good at something else? Like why not just do the thing I'm good at? And but I can tell you, I think that the first couple of years after I finished my PhD, I probably about the first 5 or 6 years, I felt like I was walking on slippery ice. Like I didn't feel quite like a professor. Now I think I'm a little more comfortable there, but in the beginning, you're just like, wait, hold on, like, how's this work? You know what I mean? Like, and you hoping nobody will see that, but the reality is everybody feels that way. And I think one thing that helps with confidence too is when you realize everybody feels like that, then you're like, okay, we all out here trying to figure it out, right? And that was like the epiphany that helped me to like become more comfortable doing new things. I was probably about maybe 39, 38 at that time because I would go on like show, different TV shows. Back then I would do more TV stuff like CNN and all that. And I would say, you know what? I think everybody feels like they don't understand everything that's happening. So it's really like, can you at least have enough confidence to hustle through it and do your best? That's it. So I made that commitment. Like I'm probably not gonna succeed at a lot of what I do, but I'm just gonna commit to doing my best, and that's what took the pressure off. So Daniel, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. Like, so what you do is really unique. I mean, so you have a background in transportation, right, and real estate, which is really rare. And I want everybody to know what Daniel does because I think it's really powerful. Um, and so you build houses and then you take them places to people. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, sir. So basically, I got started when I was about 22, buying and selling homes. Fell in love with the idea. Realized my gift was actually just a visionary, not just actually construction. So I'm really purpose driven. I align myself with God a lot. I feed my spirit a lot. So I actually just kind of I learned to just let God move. And so
Mhm.
God gave me this concept about 13 years ago about to build these tiny homes. I was in real estate when I actually in 2008 the recession hit and I lost my business buying and selling homes. So I got into
Mhm.
trucking. And so I learned how to actually transport things like that. And so I actually took the concept of merging tiny homes, merging real estate with transportation. And I ran across a guy who used to work on my truck, and he took this shed building and he fixed it up and moved into it. And so I asked him, I said, and when I walked in, I was really impressed. I said, what are your utilities on your tiny home? He said, people with big homes have big utility bills. He said, my light bill is $40 and my water bill was like, I think he said light bill is $40 and his water bill was $20. And I said, whoa, this is affordable housing. I got to make this move. So I started drawing them up and everything. And so I merged that concept together. And the first home I did looked like a trailer home. And then I started actually, drawing, making the roofs taller and everything. And so when I did that, I fell in love with the concept. We sold our first home inside of a building. Nobody could even see the building, let alone the tiny home that was inside of the building. We sold our first home for like $50,000. And so I said, I'm on to something here. And so most builders said, Dan, you got to you're going to build a house that you got to ship because most builders, when they build on site. So I actually self-taught, learned to teach myself how to build these buildings that you can actually move. And so, and then the concept is that we would actually build these tiny homes and create developments because most Black people, when they own real estate, they may own, a property on the south side of town or the north side. But what I wanted to do was teach Black people how to actually own developments where you can actually create a micro home development in one space here. And then you might have, say, like a half a dozen here, and then you can own another development, somewhere else. But this way you can actually create dynastic wealth by doing this. And so the concept that we did when I did my first development, uh, I did Airbnb for a while. And it was very successful. We got 5-star reviews and everything. And then I got that phone call from a friend. He told me, he said, Daniel, I have a young lady. She's living in the shelter. She's been living in the shelter for 4 months, domestic violence shelter. And so, like I said, I'm purpose driven. So I answered that call. I knew that was another call from God because I've been doing these assignments ever since age 19. And so much like us rebuilding the town back with those homes, I knew that this was another call from God. So I had to answer that call. I'm not gonna, I'm sorry. Not that I had to answer, I get a chance to answer that call. And so moved the young lady in, her and her son. Her son name is Messiah. I said, okay, I had to be dumb, deaf, and stupid not to see that this is a call from God, right? So because of you, Dr. Boyce, helping me to actually make this happen, he got a chance to actually do his first Christmas tree, decorating and everything. And it was just amazing to see that. But with me talking to the young lady, she was 22 years old, living in the shelter. And what she told me was that when they live in the shelter, They can only find, they try to help them find housing, but it's barriers there because of credit. So everything's based on credit now. So a lot of women who are actually going through domestic violence, they can't find a place to stay because of their credit. So they have to return to an unsafe environment, to their abuser. And so I seen that need, and I said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to actually create safe, tiny homes for women and children of domestic violence, and that's what Tiny Home Big Purpose was birthed.
Wow, I love that. I really love that. And you know, I'll say this, you know, it's interesting, you know, when you talk about being purpose driven. I think earlier when we were talking about like the resilience to keep going, things like that, faith ties directly into that, right? Like, you know, a lot of y'all, how many of y'all believe in God? Everybody here believes in God. Raise your hand. Say yes if you believe in God. All the panelists, God, right? Is God real? Does God exist?
Man,
Well, does God have your back?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if God is real and God has your back, then what are you afraid of? I mean, it's that simple, right? You know, so if that's the thing that gets you to take action, then use that. And so I love that, man. I think it's extraordinary. I was very happy to, you know, to be invited to support you on that because, you know, my mama was 17 when she gave birth to me, and in my heart I feel what she probably felt when, you know, just scared to death. You know, she didn't have any help, and it's terrible out here. You know, so good, congratulations, great work. All
and
right,
that's
so
some
let's say it again.
I just want to tell the community how you know great, how blessed we are to actually have you as a leader. Because I mean, when I actually came to you, you stepped right in and said, "Of course," and so that was really huge for me. And like I said, I thank God for you also.
Well, you know, I tell you what, God talks to a lot of us, right? So he was talking to me too. He wasn't gonna let me miss that assignment, man. I mean, you know, so hey, that's what we're supposed to do, you know. I give all credit to you, man. Thank you for letting me be a part of that. And so Constance, I want to ask you about this. Okay, so another area of significant purpose that you've pursued, that among many, because Constance is good at everything, is you have actually really dug into something that I saw in terms of another trend, which is well, it's a trend that reverses a previous trend. So there was this issue of so many people in our community losing their homes due to the failure to create an estate plan, you know, and just not knowing the rules of the game. My grandparents lived in that house for 60 years and lost it from a predatory loan, right? And you know, and so you've actually been helping people put together things like trusts and estate plans, if I'm not mistaken, that will help them to protect their properties. Can you kind of talk about the significance of the issue and why this really is a huge call to action for our people to really make a point to protect that property so that when you build that asset, nobody takes it away from you.
Yeah, so black people, so you guys, we just got into the wealth game, what, last 50, 60 years, right? So, of course, you know, they had a 400-year head start. And, you know, when they started making home ownership available to a lot of people through FHA financing, we were shut out. Redlining, then predatory lending. So all of those things happen to black people. So we're really new to that. And so we know that the number one wealth builder in this country is through real estate. That's the number one. 80% of wealth in this country is generated through real estate. So black folks is now we building wealth. Yay. In 2020, we were the largest, we had the largest growth. MSNBC reported that we had the largest growth in terms of real estate out of any other ethnicity. Black folks did in 2020. We had the largest growth. So that's great. We're building wealth. One of the things that we're not doing is we're not passing our wealth. So there's so many instances that I could talk about how black folks are losing their wealth, but I'll talk about something that just happened to me recently. I bought this house that I'm in, purchased it last year, about a year ago. And I purchased it from an older gentleman who was in HOA foreclosure. I got it for fair market value because, you know, I shared the story. People are like, you bought this man's house for Texas. No, I bought it for fair market value. People was like, you're predatory too. No, not me. But so I'm in contract, and I'm in contract subject to this lien. It's an $8,500 lien. It's really a $3,000 lien that got pumped up to about $8,500 of an HOA. He fell behind HOA foreclosure. He was sick, fell behind. So this guy, so for in my opinion, there was some collusion going on. But the HOA attorney and this investor, they got together. They purchased this lien. So we're thinking, okay, just pay off the lien. We can close escrow. Well, it took about 6 months of going back and forth to court, filing appeals and all this stuff. Finally, the judge said that we're okay to close, that his purchase was invalid, and that he's no longer entitled to the property. So this investor did not want to give up. This is $1 million home. He was getting it for $8,500. So he was going to fight to the death. Now, this investor also has a lot of money, and he has a lot of connections in the area. This is Prince George's County, which is one of the wealthiest black counties in the country. He just had a whole embattlement with Kevin Spacey. He took his house, like he got money, he got influence. He thought he was going to get this house. Anyway, so we closed on my house. About 2 months later, after we closed on my house, he files an appeal with the Supreme Court. Supreme Court denies him. Well, 2 months after that, even after the Supreme Court denies him, even after that, the initial courts had already overturned his foreclosure. He goes and records this invalid deed anyway. So now, only way I know is because Zillow tells me. This happened a few months ago. Zillow told me that there was a house in your neighborhood that sold for $8,800. It's my house. I got a loan on it. I got an $800,000 loan on it, but this house is no longer in my name. It's in his name. He has the asset. I have the liability. Okay. So these types of things are happening. As I did my research, I found that this is happening all over the place. I got tons of DMs. Identical things have happened to a lot of different people. So like right now, I'm actually working with some delegates to initiate some legislation around this type of thing. My point is, this happened to me and I know better. So it's happened to so many other people. A lot of people, especially black people, are losing their wealth because of predatory practices. It's important that we protect ourselves. Now, could this have happened had it been in some type of living trust? Sure, but there are other things that he would have had to go through in order to be able to get this. It wouldn't have been as easy. And so what happens when you have a living trust? If you're alive, or if you're when you die, because you will die at some point, it'll actually pass your home seamlessly. And a lot of people, what happens is they'll die, their homes go to probate, everybody fighting over it. Now your kids are hating each other because everybody's fighting over mama's things. Mama didn't leave no directions. Maybe mama left a will, and the will is good instructions, but it's still going to go through probate, which is costly, which is expensive. So the thing is, we need to start planning even for our life, because a living trust is not just for when you die. It's for, should you become incapacitated? Who's going to take over your estate? Who's going to make sure that your medical directives are carried out? Who's going to be your power of attorney? So all of those things are really, really important. So my thing is, I exist to make sure that black people, this is for everybody, anybody can do it, but I focus on black people, B1, black first, right? That we not only are able to build our wealth through real estate, but we are able to maintain and sustain it, and we could pass it with the minimal amount of court exposure, because we need to keep the courts out of our business.
Well, I think that's really important. And by the way, when we get done, not only will I ask all the panelists to share how you can reach out to them, but everybody here is also going to be part of ABC Digital, which is the digital version of the All Black National Convention. And one of the things that makes our conventions different from a lot of other events is that our goal is to connect you with each other and to connect you with the panelists. So I want you to be able to walk right up to them. So what we're going to do is have virtual breakout sessions where the panelists that choose to participate, they'll be sitting in there and you can literally walk right up and talk to them and do business with them. The same way Daniel reached out to me when he saw me and was talking to me, you can do the same thing. And maybe someone becomes your plug, or that relationship that you make that takes you to the next level. And so I'm going to put the link in the chat for anybody that wants to join the convention. It's going to be the weekend of January 31st, this upcoming weekend. And use the code word morning with a capital M to get a really big discount. I don't know how much it takes off, but it takes off a lot. So you guys can get a big discount. So use that code word morning with a capital M. So I want to go back to you, Don, and ask you, I'm going to read something to you. And this is another thing. Like, a lot of times we get all this bad news about black people, like black people are losing even more this year than they were last year. Black wealth is going down. Black people they're more dead than they were before. They're dying faster and getting sicker, right? We get all these negative statistics, right? Well, there are actually some positive statistics. I'm actually finding through research that the interest in real estate investing is really going up in our community. A lot of families, it says here, a lot of families are focusing on legacy planning through real estate, the trust LLCs, things like that, intergenerational strategies, and also there's a comment here about remote work. It's pushed Black buyers toward a lot of secondary cities in the South where affordability is higher, rental yields are stronger, especially Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, and parts of the Carolinas. Now, I don't know what part of the country you're in. You can fill me in on that if you could. But do you think that maybe that's another hack as well to maybe look at the place you live? And if you're living in Brooklyn and you're like, I can't get a house in Brooklyn, maybe considering making a move or something like that. So maybe tell us where you are and then tell us what you think about what I just said here.
I agree with what you said. So I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, snowy Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania right now. But I absolutely agree with that sentiment and what you just said. They say that sometimes the easiest thing that you could do to change your life and your circumstances is to move, pick up and move. And remote work is definitely one of those ways. For the last probably just about 2 decades, I've been working remotely, so I haven't really stepped inside of an office. And it gives you the ability to move to another location, like you said, move to a less expensive location. Pittsburgh is it's one of the least expensive places in the country. Pittsburgh and some places in Ohio, some places in Detroit, things like that. So if you're having a hard time and you're struggling financially because you live in a market that's more expensive, like New York City, or somewhere in California where you can get a bungalow, but it's $1 million. If you move down to Houston, you can live like a king or queen for the same amount of money that you were struggling on in California. When you have remote work, that gives you that accessibility and flexibility to be able to move around and not just live a better life and a less strenuous life, but to explore new things, right? So it also gives you the ability to, and this is a conversation we've had before, it gives you the ability to look beyond our borders here in the United States. There's other places to explore too. A lot of Blacks are going to like Thailand and Ghana and Mexico and Panama and Belize and places where the cost of living is less expensive. If you have remote work and you're able to pull that off to travel abroad or travel somewhere else in the US, it gives you that flexibility to be able to see another part of life where life is often better in some of these places. So it just gives you the flexibility to be able to take a look around and know that there's more to life than just what you see here in the US. And that's my thing. That's something I'm heavy on, especially in light of all that's going on in the economy here, on the political landscape and things like that, to be able to have the flexibility to pick up and go and see something else and explore something else and live life that's not so strenuous and not living paycheck to paycheck because all your money is going out on higher taxes, higher insurance, higher car notes, higher groceries, to be able to live a life that's more abundant and less expensive and more beautiful.
I think that's I love the way you say that. I mean, it's Dr. Charman, what Dawn was just speaking about really speaks to something I think about with yourself, in terms of just the mental health aspect of wealth building. And I know you're into wellness and things like that. And I want to show you something. I put this on my Instagram. Every now and then we do digital field trips. So we'll hop over to Instagram and I'll show everybody just whatever the latest is on the gram. And I put this image representing the landlord and the renter, right? that literally, you have this to me, I think just, it really, again, it's like, look, you tell me you can't afford to own property, but yet when you are a renter for a long period of time, you are buying property for somebody else. Like this man on here he owns more land and more buildings or whatever because this guy's doing all the work. He's getting up and going to work every morning and giving him money that he's then using to directly pay his mortgage. Am I being too harsh with that analogy, or does it work? What do you think, Dr. Char?
No, I don't think you're being harsh at all. And I find that people just don't think that they can do it. They don't realize how comparatively easier it is to buy a home and the benefits of buying a home versus being a renter. I've had renters come up to me like, hey, help me find an apartment or help me find a house to rent. And that's great for certain situations. But I'm like explaining to them, like, you know, you can build equity. If there's an emergency, you can take out a home equity line of credit. You're going to build equity in this home if you live there for 5 years versus if you're renting, you're basically enriching someone else. And so I think the biggest thing, and Constance talked about FHA, people don't have the down payment. They don't think they can come up with the down payment, but they don't know that there's so many programs. I mean, I'm here in Atlanta. We got like a $50,000 first time home buyers program. Houston has programs like that. And so it's really important to get with the realtor and get with someone that is going to guide you through those things, because there are so many people who actually could be affording to own their own home that are simply renting for lack of belief.
Mm. Well, you know, I'm telling you, I really think that this is a big call to action, Daniel, for our people in my belief in this generation. I think that there are a few things that I think should be more urgent than us figuring out how to own assets and property, things like that, right? You know, and what I like about what you're doing with tiny homes is that it really does a lot to, you know, when you hear politicians talk about the affordability crisis and how they're going to make things more affordable, I don't believe them. I don't. You know, I think, you know, on one hand, I think I saw Trump talking about how the gas prices had dropped in different states, but then simultaneously, just a few months ago, you know, you had the battle in DC over what was it, over healthcare costs, and I saw people's healthcare literally double and triple directly because of the gridlock that was happening in Washington. So what I like about your solution is that it's not a Democrat or Republican solution. It's just but it's a solution that works. And what you're basically proposing is you're saying think outside of the box when it comes to what it means to own property or to create an asset that generates income. So the tiny home process, and I wanted you to kind of just give us some insights on this in terms of what you've seen. It seems to me that you can get a house built for a very low cost, and from what I understand, tell me what the parameters should be, but you're able to literally drive the house to wherever people are and just set it up for them. Like, how does that work? Like, tell me about that. I think that's very cool.
Yeah, when I built my first home, Dr. Boyce, we actually, like I said, we built it into a warehouse, and people were lining up behind us, following us to the location. And so, yeah, they followed us home. So I got 10 acres that we actually build on now. And so it's my personal property, right? And so they followed us home. And when I put that first home there, I had people leaving notes at my door on my truck. Please call me. I need a place to stay. It's just me and my dog, just me and my cat. So you see what I'm saying? And they wanted to rent it out. Because the thing about it is that most people, when you think about developers, they're building these huge homes, these expensive homes, so it's not really any affordable homes. So you leave 95% of the people out. So you know I seen a lady. She said, "Does anyone build homes for regular people anymore?" So with that being said, you have a lot of people out here that's hurting, you know, trying to find affordable housing, and so you know, rents are crazy through the roof. So if you can actually create a solution that will actually solve most people's problem, because every human needs a place to stay. So if you can, these micro homes is a answer to a problem. And so, because the thing about it is now you make it affordable because the light bill utility cost is low. So people can afford to actually live. They don't have to like make a decision whether or not am I going to pay my light bill. It's wintertime right now. I'm going to pay my light bill. Am I going to get my medicine? You see what I'm saying? So with that being said, you create this solution for everyday people who are actually just struggling trying to make it. And a lot of times people losing their jobs. So if you can create an affordable house for them, they would gladly pay you. And so the idea with these tiny homes, like I said, I'll actually learn how to build them. We can actually ship them to across America, and we build them right here in Mississippi. And the whole concept is to actually make them affordable for people, especially us as African Americans. I want to show people how we can create and own our own developments. And with these homes, you can own several developments. You can create, like I said, you know, one here. You know, like I got that first development. We actually working on 2 more sites. I got about an acre of land. And the thing about it is, these micro homes like the boys, is that if you build a regular size home, it's going to take up most of your land space, right? But with these small footprint homes, you can strategically place them and get more use out of your land than what you would if you had a regular size home on the land.
Mm, wow. Well, we're going to talk more about that. I think we should do some more things. I know you're talking with people, members of our team now, and I'd like to follow up on that for sure. So this is excellent. So Constance, I'm going to ask you a last question before I let all the panelists talk about how we can get in touch with them. So you have kids. You have these awesome, amazing, intelligent, extraordinary children that I've met at the convention, and y'all are working together to do things, and also I invited your children to help us with the Young, Black, and Rich segment at the All Black National Convention. Lead it however they want to. What's going on with that in terms of just like I see generational wealth being built, not just in terms of them having this extraordinary mother that's doing amazing things, but also the fact that they seem to have a closeness, and they're all just like these small. I just see lots of great things coming out of that. Tell us about that vibe. Like what's going on in your house, Constance? Because
Man,
y'all
I
becoming a threat
don't
to national
know.
security right now. They going what they
What
call it,
you,
black identity extremists. They gonna come get y'all because y'all getting too much done. You're making too many things happen. Tell me about that.
No, listen, I am over the moon. Actually, while we were talking, my son had FaceTime because he's about to graduate from college. But boys, I'm over the moon, really. My kids, and you could do whatever you want, and your kids will. I don't know what they'll end up doing. They might end up making a mistake. I pray that they don't. Right? I pray somebody don't get into a car with somebody and something happens. Like, right? So you pour into your kids. I'll say, I've always had conversations with my kids. My son was 12. I had one that was 12, 11, 10. One was 8, and my daughter was 17. I bought them your stock program, and I told them that if they went through this, I'd give them $1,000 to invest. And so the only one who did it was my oldest son. He was 12 at the time, and he took that $1,000. He made $8,000. Then when he turned 16, he started, he took my $6,000, $7,000 portfolio, made 40,000. This was like 2020. Because remember when stock was going crazy in 2020, he did that like 3 months, $7,000, $40,000. So then he started teaching all these people, and he had this thing called Stock Tips with Warren. He was just giving tips, and people were making money. He had like 200 people in his group. So he's doing that. And then now he's in college, and he's doing his things, getting ready to graduate. And my daughter, she's kind of following my footsteps. She's been going with me to conferences forever. She could sell me better than I can. I'll be at a conference and I'll be like trying to sell my book. She'll be like, get out the way. And she'll be talking to him and she knows how to do it. I'm like, yeah. And my youngest son, that boy don't talk, but now he's a whole motivational speaker. He got a video that did like 1 million views. He's just on there just telling people about God and motivation and all this stuff. It's blowing my mind. So, and I have one more son too. He hasn't really kind of found himself. He's over at Jackson. So I have 2 boys in HBCUs, one getting ready to go, and my daughter graduated. But then at the same time, boys, my daughter was like, I need to give you some feedback on your parenting skills, Mom, because, I think you need to do a little bit better job with helping us with our financial literacy. And I'm like, wait a minute, we talk about this, right? So, I'm not perfect in that because she's like, I don't, I'm trying to figure out all this stuff about credit, and you did a lot, they're investors. They have real estate. My son has a property. My daughter has had her second property. So I make sure that I pour into them, but I teach them this stuff, but it's not until it's applicable that they understand. And this is what I was explaining to my daughter last week when she was like, you didn't explain this to me. And I'm like, I did, but it wasn't until you had to actually apply it until now you're trying to figure it out and understand it, if that makes sense. But I just say, one thing my kids always say is the reason why that we're so close is because you listen. I just listen to him. That's it. That's all. And that youngest one, I was trying to crack his nut because he doesn't talk. And when he does, I'm just like, I'm glued in because he don't talk. And then now I'm seeing him online. He was doing this. I was telling Boyce when he first started doing it, he was like a secret motivational speaker. And I was over there watching his stuff. Turns out he knew I was watching it, but he just didn't tell me. But just listen to your kids, man, and just continue to pour into. One thing I do is I'm really adamant about having conversations about money, but also investing. So we have conversations about, well, what are you going to invest in? Well, what are you doing? What are you doing? And they know, like, if they just want, if my daughter just wants a bag or if they just want some shoes, that might not be what they're going to get. But if they want money to invest, I'm gonna put that money into them. So you need $1,000 to invest. Let's go. What you investing in? What's going to be your ROI? What are you looking at? What's the cost of goods? What's your return on investment? And those are the things, those are the conversations that we have. So I'm super proud of them. They are all the things. They're trifling and lazy and awesome and amazing and all the things that children are. And I just continue to pour into them, man. And I'm getting my ROI from those kids. But they trifling too, They don't always clean up behind themselves. They don't always take out the garbage. I'm yelling at them all the time. All those things too. But they're just my joy, and I'm really, really super proud of them.
Yeah. Well, and also what I kind of see is, 20 years down the line, like they're just gonna take care of, mama, right?
I told them they got to pay off this ghetto ass mortgage. What I look like being 80 years old, this high ass mortgage payment. I told them they got 5 years, 5 years to get ready to pay out this mortgage.
Yeah. I mean that those little connections early make a big difference.
Yeah,
My connection with my brother made the whole difference in everything I did business wise. Without my
right.
brother, I couldn't have done all this stuff, And I think it's and the parents create those bonds, right? You facilitate that. Because that's wealth, so I want everybody to just remember, like, stop looking for the money, look for the things that create the money. You understand? We
That's good.
talked about the Rothschilds. The way the Rothschilds became the Rothschilds is because of their father. He said, "You're a Rothschild. Stick with your brother. Y'all work together. You go do this. You go to that right. That guidance is what leads to wealth creation, right? So a lot of times people are looking for the result, but you got to look for the input, not the output. Does that make sense? All right. So I would like to quickly, one thing. One, don't forget, speaking of real estate, tonight the real estate club meets. We have a special guest. I don't have the name in front of me, but it'll be a surprise. But Don, I
Me.
should know.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it's
See,
me.
I'm just messing up, Don. I'm so sorry. I owe you an apology, a
Oh
big
no,
one.
it's
But
okay.
but but yeah, so Don will be tonight. She's going to be our special guest in the real estate club. drboycerealestate.com. If you want to do a free trial, feel free to go there and take a look. And I'm gonna let Don have the floor. She's going to do her thing, and you'll have a whole hour and a half, however long. If she wants to talk to y'all for 5 hours, she can. And if y'all want
Won't
to
do
hang out,
that.
yeah, as long as you want. The floor is yours, ma'am. So drboycerealestate.com for those that want to do a free trial. Also, I would like every panelist to just mention, where people can get in touch with you. And if you want to reiterate your title, which company you're affiliated with, whatever it is you want to do. I'll start with you, Miss Matthews Howes, please.
I'll make it brief. So I'm the CEO of Home Indeed Realty, also the COO of Olmec Development Company. You can reach me at homeindeedrealty.com, or you can also reach me via YouTube by subscribing to Money Matters, the Real Financial Conversation. And those are the best ways to get in contact with me.
Money Matters, the Real Financial Conversation. Okay. So I'm going to go and find it right now. So if I just type Money Matters in the search box, I'll find you.
You should.
Money
Yeah,
Matters,
the Real
the
Financial
real.
Conversation.
I'm a believer. I'm like Constance said. I want to be a doer. So I'm gonna find your
I love
channel
it.
right now, so
I love it. I love it.
I can be a what do they call it, trolling in the chats.
Yeah, can
Let
you
me
put it in
see.
the comments? Can you put your YouTube in the comments?
Yeah, that will be good. Yeah. Oh,
Cool.
I see this. Okay,
You found me?
nice. Yes, I did. I'm subscribed. Okay, so
Awesome.
now I'll be up in the comments. So
I
very nice,
love it.
very nice to see you again, Don. Thank you for coming
You
in.
as well.
Right.
Anytime, Dr. Boyce.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Charm, where can we go and connect with you? Where you at?
You can connect with me at my Instagram page. It's Dr. Charm Luxury. That's DRCHARM Luxury. I am Dr. Charm, your prescription for luxury living.
Okay, Dr. Charm Luxury. Okay, because I don't know if I follow this. I know I'm connected to you on. There we
Yeah,
go. There.
that is my new real estate account. Oh, okay. I see the follow. I got an alert right away.
Yes, I told you. I'm about that. I'm about action. Action. We gonna do this.
Dr.
All
B
that
about that
talking.
life.
You got those people that be like, yeah, call me. Okay, all right, I'm gonna call you. Okay, and then nothing ever happens. I hate that. Like you're
Reynolds
wasting.
rooms.
Right, it's like no, we gonna do it now. Like no, we're not doing. I always was it. Most people I think operate on level one because remember this is about consciousness, vibrational frequency. What level are you on? Most people operate on level one. Everything's like one day. One day I'm gonna do this. One day I'm gonna do that. I say we operate on level two, which means today I'm gonna do that. Right? Not later. Like your life, your whole future, your whole life is now. Like stop thinking about the future like it's separate from like your life right now. Like, no, they're all connected. So you are what you do. So we got to do stuff. So
Okay.
yes, I followed you, and I will be trolling you too.
The
Just so you
B1
know,
family, I got like 10 new follows already. Y'all not playing. I love this.
that's right. I'll be the weird man in the comments. I'll be like, I don't like that. That you are wrong, ma'am. I disagree with you. I'm kidding. I'm playing. I'm gonna give you a fire emoji. That's what I'm gonna do. All right. So Daniel, you sir, how can
Yeah.
people get in touch with you?
Yes, sir. My name is Daniel Jens. I'm the founder of Tiny Home Big Purpose. We actually create tiny home developments for women and children of domestic violence in America. You can actually reach us at tinyhomebigpurpose.com.
Tinyhomebigpurpose.com. Is that home with an S or homes like or home?
Home.
Tinyhomebigpurpose.com. So the homes are tiny, but the purpose is big. And also I found the Daniel Jennings page on Instagram. I think that's you. It looks like you, unless it's like a fake account because those things are out there too. Yeah, y'all be careful about fake accounts. I found out there's like a 50, 60 fake Dr. Voices on TikTok. Please do not talk to these people. I'm not going to be in your DMs asking you for money. So please. All right. So Miss Constance Carter, last but certainly not least, where can we find you?
Yes, listen, I exist to make sure that Black people not only build wealth, that we keep it, we grow it, we pass it in all different ways. I teach the B1 Real Estate Mastery Training with the Black Business School. We have an amazing cohort. Just on our last session, somebody said, this is the best training that I have ever taken in my whole entire life. These Black people are doing it and they are moving, they are investing, they're developing, they're doing all the things. And then I do what's called the Net 7 Collective, where I coach Black women from all over the country, all walks of life, on how to increase their net worth to 7 figures and all the other things. So just follow me everywhere. I'm Constance Carter on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. And then my website is constancecarter.com. My ebook, makemylivingtrust.com. Go there and grab that Living Trust ebook. It's only $25. And guess what? I just updated it last week. It was just a Living Trust ebook. Now it's a whole estate plan. So now it's your will, your durable, your pour over will, your power of attorney, your medical directives, your digital organizer, like all of these things are in it, and it's still the same price as the Living Trust, and over 5,000 of those sold. So this is even more powerful. I think I'm gonna raise the price. We'll see. So y'all better get it while it's $25. Is all I gotta say. Go to makemylivingtrust.com.
Right, all right. So thank you all for coming in. I appreciate your time and the wisdom, and I hope everybody will give a digital thank you. I know Tiffany's asked for Dr. Charm's information. It's Dr. Charm Luxury, right? If somebody could type that in the chat, it's at Dr. Charm Luxury. So thank you to everybody. It's been an honor to speak with you, and it's an honor to build with you, and I look forward to changing the world together. Life is short. We got to go get it done. So God bless you, everybody. Have a
See
great
y'all at
day.
ABNC this weekend.
Yes.
ABNC this
Oh,
weekend.
yeah. And I'll put the link in there one more time for everybody that wants to meet our guests at the ABNC Digital this weekend. There's the link. Use the code word morning with a capital M, and that'll take a big chunk off the cost. It's not that much, but it'll make it even less expensive than that. All right. So have a wonderful day, everybody. God bless you, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow morning. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.